Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I hope you're enjoying IMSTA Fest 2020 ATL online. Yes, we're doing this. My name is Derek Olds. We're going to be taking a dive here into Celemony's Melodyne 5. We're going to split it up into two sessions. We're going to do one 30-minute session that's mostly talking about the new updates in Melodyne 5. Some of the dirty news secrets. We all know that Melodyne is probably the worst kept secret in the entire music industry. It's been on almost every record for the last 10 years, at least 10 years. We signed NDAs, so we can't really talk about it, but it's on everything. You don't always have to use it a lot, but I always find myself finding something to use it on in every song, sometimes spending half the time of a record in Melodyne. That brings me to my first point. The new updates, the new update of Melodyne 5 has takes me about half the time it used to take me to tune a professional lead vocal, as it did just a few months ago, last year. So I'm pretty excited about that. They've definitely streamlined the workflow and, had the computer do some of the stuff that was just mundane stuff that can, kind of get out of our way so we can produce and make music. So I'm going to take you, into the world of Melodyne. Let's figure out what's new. Let's figure out what we can take from this. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's dive in. I have a song I've been working on that I'm about to release, and since it's kind of hard to get vocals that aren't your own to show people Melodyne on, so I'm going to use some of these. Let me give you a quick little listen of kind of how it's being mastered right now. This is my mix and master. But it's actually, I'm so excited. It comes back tomorrow. I'm so excited. So I know you guys know that process. It's super fun. I'll give you a quick little listen to kind of what we're working with here. And we're going to kind of use a lot of the content from this song to show you around, show you some of the tools. And then the second video, we're going to come back for the next 30 minutes, and I'm actually going to track some guitar and some vocal, and just kind of show the process of how I would do a new lead vocal to this song or something like that. So, then we'll kind of get in and start chopping things up with our tools. Let me give you a quick little listen. This song's called My Only.
That we shared wasn't air, it wasn't air. And I feel frightened and often a little scared that I won't be there when you need me, baby. So if you wanna come home, if you wanna come, we've got time now before the sun takes you away again. Will you be my only? 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 Be my
All right. So yeah, we're gonna, track those. I think that first verse, that first first hook, and mess around and actually do some tracking second half. So let's kind of start diving in deep. If you were listening right there on the hook around the chorus, that's actually made up of 4 lead vocals, and then I made fake harmonies in Melodyne. Ended up with about 20 vocals to create this choir effect. So I'll be able to show you a couple of those little tricks. Now, okay, let's get into it. So Melodyne 5, It's finally here. We were all waiting with bated breath for some of the things that were being promised. Not promised, but there were rumors might be possible soon. And now it's all here and it's all working. And we're super excited. Um, let's go through some of the main ones. I'm going to kind of try and get through as much of this list as we can in these 30 minutes here. The first thing we're going to talk about is that now Melodyne basically sees, instead of just seeing audio, it sees each blob basically as two channels. There's a channel of sibilance and a channel of tonal information. So in essence, anything that's an S or a T or a breath, anything that doesn't have actual pitch information, as opposed to the tonal stuff that is less percussive and actually has tone. So let's kind of show you what that looks like first of all. So I'm going to bring up this Logic session. I tried to find some of the original raw vocals here. So yeah, here we go. So I'm actually working in Logic right now, but most of the stuff is working, kind of at different levels at different DAWs. There's the new technology called ARA that's really been audio random access that's really been incorporated into some of these DAWs. Basically, it allows, in essence, instead of just Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, whatever DAW you're using, Cubase, Fruity Loops, all our favorites. Usually in the past, where you have your playhead running, you're just basically reporting, Logic would be reporting to all the plugins, just what's right around that playhead. But with ARA, it can report the entire file all at once. So you'll see things like if I take, I'm just going to push play. Once you push play, once you put Melodyne, I'd already done it on this one, but in many DAWs, you don't even have to transfer anymore. You just push play, it all shows up. Always first thing you're going to want to do is just make sure the algorithm is correct. In this case, it's a vocal, so it had the correct algorithm as melodic. There's a couple new ones. I hope we'll try and get into these. This one's really cool. Percussive pitched. So when you have percussive instruments that have pitch to them, like certain drums, certain percussive instruments, but they're not necessarily melodic. It's an algorithm that kind of lets you walk the line between the two, and Melodyne does a really good job of analyzing notes depending. Some of the stuff we'll be doing is polyphonic, some of it is melodic. In this case, it's a vocal, so it got it right and it's melodic. All right, so you'll see if I
From the first.
So you see some of these are solid lines and some have these vertical hashes in them. And you'll notice, let's listen again.
From the first breath that we shared.
So this is an obvious S.
We shared.
What's a sh, right? And you'll see I can move this note up and down now.
That we shared.
And it knows to separate out the tonal stuff and the sibilance. So it knows this is an S, so it's not going to change the pitch, which the reason this is amazing is in the past, what took so long when you're melodyning was having to go up to the note separation tool and physically cutting out all of the S's and T's and breaths. And if you had a lead vocal that's 5 minutes or 4 minutes, and you have a double and then some backgrounds and some harmonies, and you start stacking them up, this could be thousands of cuts. And there was really no way to do it if you really wanted to, do surgery on a vocal and really, really manipulate it to its tiniest pieces, which sometimes we're forced to do, as you might have experienced. In the past, we would have to separate out all the S's and T's and breaths, so we didn't ever grab them and tune them. Because if you try and tune something that doesn't have basically tone to it, then it's going to start sounding kind of like alien artifacts. People would say, Melodyne, has these, or when you tune, a lot of times you get these alien artifacts. Sometimes that's because you're trying to tune S's and T's. So Melodyne now can just separate that out. It's really, it's really impressive. Watch a little bit of it here.
Breath that we shared wasn't air. It wasn't air.
Okay, so
It wasn't air.
it even knows about halfway through. It's like, I end with just a breath.
Air.
And it found a great place for that to be. So I could change this note now.
It wasn't air.
And it doesn't get all crazy at the end. So that's super cool. This also allows us to do, let's say, a trick I've been doing a lot is now, let's say I select all. Now we've got this new tool. It's the sibilance balance tool. It allows me to, let me just go all the way down with it. I've just removed all the S's and T's and breaths. You can see up here, I'm at negative 100%.
It wasn't air. And I feel frightened and often a little scared.
That sounds like a lisp because, there's no S's and T's. Let me go the opposite way. Let me go all the way up to positive 100. So this is just the stuff that doesn't have tonal information. It's super amazing. This isn't just for vocals. Imagine being able to, split up an acoustic guitar and really get the pick sounds very, very much separate from the tonal stuff, and take some of the harshness out of the pick, or raise the attack of the picks, or lower the attack so they're less biting, things like that. That reminds me, I might need to do that on this song. Okay, so then you might have already thought, wait, if you can completely separate them, can we have them both as files? Well, sure. If we want to just, something I've been doing, one of my new tricks. I just made a copy of the track. I'm just going to copy this audio file, and let me just call it like, just so I'll know what it's different. Once I open Melodyne, you'll see, push play for a second, and there it is. It's already been incorporated into the track. Cool. So if I now take, let me rename these now to tonal and then sibilance. Cool. So for this first one, I'm going to go to the tonal one, and I'm going to take it all the way. Let's say, yes, all the way to negative 100. And then let me go to the next. I don't even have to go to the new track because of ARA, Melodyne. No matter how many instances of Melodyne I have in all of my DAW, I've already got like 5 or 6. They're all just showing up right here in one window, which is really cool. And we're still in the DAW, still in the plugin, but now we can touch them all. Remember, the ones that are in yellow are the ones that you can see, hear, and manipulate. So for instance, like, I can go and move this around. If it's in gray, you can just see it and hear it, but you can't touch it. But that can be great. If you got a lead and you want to, mimic it with a double, it's really nice to be able to see them both. I've got my lead and then my double's back there still. So let's continue with what we were doing though. So if I make this first one, I'm just gonna make it just orange here. If I make this first one with a sibilance tool, all the way negative 100, and then the sibilance one, go to the other side, sibilance tool, go to the positive. Now I have 2 tracks here, and one of them sibilance and one of them is tone.
And I feel frightened.
Nice. So that's kind of cool. Then you can start to manipulate S's and T's and de-essing more on a global scale. So I could go in here now and really start changing. Oh, that's the other session. Let me go back to this one. Another new thing that's a great thing to bring up right now as we're just diving into this. If I have now just the sibilance, now I can, select all these and, turn them all down, take the amplitude tool, change the volume, Just really manipulate them however you want. Even change formants and stuff like that, which gets really creative. We won't go into that as of now. But if I just take the amplitude tool, it's just great to be able to go in and change the volume of all the S's and T's and just really do it. Let's talk about my next. So that's amazing to be able to separate all the atonal stuff, or not atonal, non-tonal stuff, all the sibilance out. You can really do some cool things. So I'll go back to just the normal here. Let's go back to 0. Cool. So if you don't want to do that drastic, though, I can take all the S's very easily. Let me just solo this guy.
Often a little scared.
So let's say overall, let's say I'm using a mic that's, the S's are just too much. It's not a nice tube in there. We can very easily just go in and turn all the non-tonal stuff down for the entire track.
A little scared.
So you can kind of help your de-essers later by doing the bulk of the work. Okay, so that's the first thing. This also means that there's just way less cutting to do. I can see this entire word here.
It wasn't air.
I can see this as one blob. Air. In my mind, that's just one word. So I would like to treat it as just one word, and you definitely can here. You can just move this around freely without having to worry about the S and the T being separated. Let's talk about something else that's pretty cool. Now we have kind of if you've ever heard of a LA2A type compressor that is more like it's called a leveler. It really helps you find a consistent energy, not just volume, but really overall energy. And it's usually sounds really good on vocals and things like that. But Melodyne 5 has really taken it kind of to a new level. It's given us this new macro leveler tool. So it's like compression, but you have control over the upper dynamics and the lower dynamics as separate entities. Usually, if you think about compression, you have a dynamic range that say, here's the quietest and here's the loudest point of your song or whatever you're compressing. Compression, of course, is bottom up, top down. So you do this and use makeup gain to go up and down. Limiting, same thing, but you go up until you hit the ceiling and the bottom keeps going up. What Melodyne is allowing you to do is it kind of splits it up in the middle. So you have upper dynamics and lower dynamics. So if you want, let's say, for instance, you're just like singing pretty cool, da na 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 na, and there's just this one note every once in a while that's louder. You could just do this. You could say, make loud notes quieter. So you're basically in your compression little hand gestures I'm doing here. You're basically just taking down the top dynamics. All right. And we could also do that for the noise floor. We could just bring the noise floor up. We could bring all the whispers and the detail up, but without touching the top. So that can be really cool. Let's see kind of what it does. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see more of these notes. Let's see. Okay, so if I go, let's see what we get. So if I say top down, you'll see some of the louder notes are changing. Like for instance, this note right here. It's getting a little softer, but then the softer notes aren't moving at all. So it kind of smooths out that top. Or we could take the bottom and we can take the soft notes and make them all louder without messing with the top ones. That can be super great. If we go, both towards the center, then we kind of get more just compression where the top and bottom are moving. But now we have separate control of it. I really like it. Speaking of S's, it's something that can be really cool that, it's okay to have like S's all over the place, but every once in a while you have that super loud S. And it's just great to be able to just take the loud ones, make them softer, but not even touch all this stuff down there. I usually let my, compressors and de-essers kind of do that. But if you go in and help it, you take the really bad ones and make them a little better. Take the really bad ones down here and make them a little better. Now your compressors in your mix stage of finishing the song can be used to in a more of a healthy way, not to fix problems, but really to compress things, put them in a nice little box, little lane, and do what we like to do with compression. So, that's been just a huge help, since the new Melodyne came out. Let's see. Okay. So another enormous change. They basically rewrote the algorithm, which, first of all, is the best algorithm for stretching and pitching in the world. I think, I'm not sure if many people, in the game are fighting hard against that fact. So everyone knows Melodyne sounds amazing, but it's always just taken so much time. It's a labor of love. I'll put it that way. But it's so important. It's like there's triage and there's surgery, and Melodyne has always been really about doing that surgery, going in there and just trying to make it sound as natural as possible, maybe, or doing all kinds of really interesting stuff. But now they've kind of given us the ability to do things quicker, but not in an unhealthy way. What they've done is, in the past, let's just really quick define this. So each one of these is called a blob. So the line that you see here is the exact pitch that's being sung. So there's some vibrato in there. So the center of the line is put at the average of the entire pitch of the pitch line from the beginning to the end of the blob. So the average of the whole squiggly line, that's where the blob is put centered. Now, if you have something, I might be able to find one, but it's not. Yeah, this works right every so. I'm basically going up and let's call it a mountaintop here. Well, really what matters is, do I hit the note? Trying to hit that D flat. So the scoop up and then the fall down at the end are not really that important, and I would prefer them not to be incorporated into the average of the blob. It's really what matters is the tip there. So what Melodyne has done now, they've completely rewritten the algorithm. Now it's looking at the musical information of the blobs, the important information. If there's a scoop, if you're talking about country music, then you don't want to mess those scoops up. That's a huge part of the sound of the genre. So, usually I would rather manipulate those one by one if I need to, but not really touch them overall. So let's talk about this. In the past, if you just, for instance, got a vocal and tried to just say select all, and then go up to the macro, turn it all the way up to 100, you're going too far. It was going to sound robotic, and it just wouldn't sound that natural. That's because the averages were all inclusive. So then the average would always be a little bit off. What this does is it puts each blob, the average, to the center of the exact note. Now that it's looking at the musical information, using all kinds of, this new algorithm is super complicated. It's crazy what they've done. You guys are amazing at Celemony. These guys are mind-blowing. So what they've done is, it almost feels like, I don't know if there's AI involved. It feels like there is. It's helping me tune. So my first part of the process now is I start at 100. That's blasphemy in the past. I've told thousands of people don't do that in my life. And at the booth at NAMM and all over the place, told thousands of people don't ever do that. Never go to 100. Now the Melodyne 5 is out, I go to 100 at the very beginning. Now that's possible also because now, before, if you selected all and you would cut out all the S's and T's, then you're tuning. You can't just select all and if you go to the pitch tool and you double click, it'll take everything to the average. In the past, if you did that, you tuned all your S's and your T's and all that stuff. Now that S's and T's and breaths are being ignored by Melodyne, you can, select bigger groups of things and start at 100. I'm not saying do this all the time, but this is something that you got to really internalize that the algorithm has changed. Going to 100% now on that note means that it's putting the average of the tip right there on the note where you're trying to reach. So you've hit that note at 100%, pretty much the way a singer was trying to hit it. So start experimenting with maybe going up further, maybe even to 100%. And then what I do, full disclosure now, I'll go in. This is if I'm doing like super pop stuff, right? I'll go to 100%, take a listen, and then spot check and fix the things that sound bad now, as opposed to before, I'd probably just listen through and just go try and fix what I didn't like. Now I can really, if I'm going for that pop perfection, I'll go to 100% and start manipulating from there. Huge deal. This is probably what's saving me the most time. Well, actually, between this and not having to cut out thousands of S's and T's, has definitely helped also. That also means that you can kind of ignore some of the visual problems, like things like this. I did this whole weird thing at the top, but Melodyne is realizing that's not really the bulk of it, and it's looking for where the bulk of the note is hitting. Super, super cool. So we talked about now that Melodyne separates things into sibilance and tonal information separately, which gives us the ability to mess with S's and T's. It gives us the ability to move blobs that have S's and T's, and it doesn't, try to tune all that non-pitch stuff. We also talked about the new leveler that helps you do kind of advanced compression, but you can do this literally. You could spot select multiple notes, whichever ones you want, and use the leveler for just those. So you could even go find the bad notes and fix those specifically. Another new tool that wasn't here before, which has been really a great thing, is the fade tool. We have fading. Finally. So it's how you would, how you're used to fades, but it's kind of a cool new approach of it. The fade tool, if I go in, it just lets us do fades. This is great. Because sometimes, we're in Melodyne and there's actually a technical problem, like a bad crossfade or something needs to be, copy, you have something that's so bad we have to find that same note or word from another part of the song and bring it in. But then it was so hard to make it feel right. Now you can just do that right here in Melodyne. Melodyne 5 is super awesome. Going further, there's we only have a couple more minutes here in this first section. I hope I've already exposed you to some things. The things that I was waiting for was please, I have carpal tunnel in my right hand, I think, from cutting out S's and T's for years, and now that it does it for you. And doing that also gave us this global approach where we can select way more things and manipulate them globally without having to worry about all the technical details that we don't like to do often. The last thing that they've added, and we'll just kind of talk about this now. Melodyne has always been great at like picking keys and figuring out polyphonic information, all 6 notes of a guitar every time you strum, and you can fix one bad fingering. All that stuff is mind-blowing. Now they've taken it further. Now you have all the chords of basically any song or anything you put in there. It intelligently guesses the chords and chord progressions. You can even lock it in and then change the chords, and then it will change the chord like the musician played it differently. So you could even change keys of a song. The implications of this are amazing. Imagine being able to take any sample on your drive, if it's minor or major, or usually you can maybe go up and down a semitone or something, but now we can change polyphonically and we can do it in a global way. So hope you guys are enjoying IMSTA ATL 2020. I've definitely had a lot of fun so far. This next session that we're going to do is another 30-minute session, and we're going to actually track some vocals. We're going to sing some, and actually put some of these tools to the test and really dive in and get our hands dirty here. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Take a little break, and here we go. Let's dive back in.